Okay, so welcome everybody. Today again we're going to try and do some machine learning using a Amazon service. Again, as you know, this is an absolute beginner's series. I'm not an industry expert here at this or anything. I'm just sharing the little bits I learned and more to document it for myself, but so that I don't forget how it works. But what we're going to try and do today is, in my previous little tutorial I shared, is I taught the machine learning computer to understand images and then could predict what the images are, but when I write them, and that turned out pretty good. I rented a computer from Amazon for this, but for this tutorial I'll just use one of their services, and the basic idea here is working with actual data. We're not talking about images or voice or anything like that. This is actual banking data. So when I say actual banking data, perhaps I mean something like this. Just a second while that opens. Real data that you would actually use. So in this case, what we're trying to do is, and this is the training set of a data that we know. It's basically, someone's age, his job, his, marital status, education, and then it goes through all of these until it gets to this column, you. This is all the data we have on somebody and whether this person bought our product or not. So what's the likelihood of this? Well, it's not the likelihood at this point. We know, this is the data we have and that we're going to train the AI on. So we have this data and we know this guy didn't buy, but this guy, which is in management, is single, he has a university degree, he has his own housing and has a cellular contract, that kind of thing. All of that, he bought our product. So that's our training. So the basic idea is we're going to give the AI or machine learning this spreadsheet and say, learn from this the people that, or the individuals that bought stuff and that didn't buy stuff. So we're not going to write queries to say, take housing times this, if this equals that. We're just going to give it to the AI and say, take in the spreadsheet, look at the result over here, and then using that, you will determine whether you can learn who buys our product or not. So that's the first thing, the training part. And then taking that then a step further, we're going to then take a batch of data like this, which is data that we have, and we're going to chuck that into the computer. But you'll see that this guy doesn't have a column here about whether they bought it or not. This is what we want to do, so or want to know about. So we're going to chuck this spreadsheet into the service and say, now, learning from the previous spreadsheet, now take this spreadsheet and tell me which one of these guys is most likely to buy my product. So that's a real business problem that can be solved in real time here using this service. So it's a little bit slow, so I'm going to speed up some parts of it, but I'm going to try and follow along myself here. Okay, so now let's try and implement this. First of all, there's not many regions that support this. I'm going to go to Virginia over here, and I'm going to get started. But first, I got to get this data. This banking and the banking batch. I got to get it into Amazon, and for that, I need to create a bucket. You go to this bucket. I already created one before, but I'm going to say test underscore AI. Oops, not allowed. Test dot AI. And I'm going to just create what's known as a simple bucket that I can dump files into, if that makes any sense. So I'm creating a bucket at Amazon, and there it is, test AI. And once I've created the bucket, I'm going to actually add these files, and I think it's banking and banking batch. Oh, well, let's send banking in first. Upload that guy, and standard, let's see what it is, add files, and I am going to upload it. So there's the banking file, and I'm going to upload the second file, which is banking batch. Okay, there they are, banking and banking batch. I'm going to get started over here. I'm going to launch a machine learning service. I'm going to say I'm using S3 bucket, and it is test AI is where I put it, and the file in there is banking.csv. There we go. And the data source, banking data source 1, just give it the name. Okay. Of course, I'm following along with the demo that AWS put out, but so there I'm following along. It says it needs permission. I give it permission, and it can now read the file, and there it comes up, and that's the all the columns in the spreadsheet: age, job, marital status, all of that. But it goes, and now we have to select what's the attribute you have to learn from, and we're going to say it's this number 21. Remember, number 21 was the one right at the end which said, did the guy buy the product or not? So sorry, it is a bit of a bigger spreadsheet. So attribute U was from our test data, or the data we have, did the guy buy it or not? You know, that's attribute number 21. There it is. So I'm going to say continue. Yeah, you choose a target. Oops, sorry, I thought I did choose a target. That's my target. Continue. And does it contain an identifier? I'm not sure what to answer there. Continue. And hit review. Say no, it doesn't contain an identifier, and hit review. Okay, so now we're going to move on to creating the model. So I'm just going to basically accept the defaults here, and the model is really going to be the default model, and you'll see how that works out in a second. So there's our default model. That's our banking model, default banking model, and you can customize this, but I'm just going to set aside 30% of your training, split the evaluation data. This is all default stuff. I'm basically just going to go into the review of that. And now this creating my model, and we'll dive deeper into that in future videos, but this is what kind of learning and how many percent and all of that it needs to create or choose the data at. It's a whole scientific world just on the model, on how you want your AI to work. But at the moment then it is looking at my data, and it's training from the data. Okay, so you can see the model has now moved from pending to in progress, so the computer is currently learning. How it works with this stuff at Amazon is it's put in a queue, and then yours gets worked on when there's when it comes up in the queue. So our model is currently training in the queue. So and it's actually just completed. So just finished training. It's completed, and because it's completed now, we can start looking at the settings. Those are some of the variables and some of the outputs, but we can of course monitor it, and we can look at our model over here and make some changes deeper on the modeling. And but let's go first of all try some prediction, record predictions here before we get deeper into modeling. Because it's trained somewhat already, I can go and let's open a record. Actually, I'll have to open a CSV record. So I'm going to take from my banking batch over here. I'm just going to open it in Notepad++, and I'm going to take one record. That's something like this. I'm going to take the raw data like that. And remember, this is now the data that we want to see of this guy. Let's see if this guy, 30 years old, blue collar, married, and will he buy our product? So we can paste that record into here. I'm going to paste it into there. There it is. And I will create a prediction. And the prediction is a 0. He's only got a 12% chance of actually buying something from me. Very interesting. So I can then say, well, let's take somebody else. I think it's like one of these records. Let's take this guy. And services, he's single, he has a university degree. Let's see how that guy would do. I'm going to paste that, and he also will not. He's also only got this has only got an 8% chance of buying this guy. Let's go and see this, maybe somebody else. Let's say this 47-year-old admin. How's he doing? 47-year-old admin will not buy it. He has almost no chance of buying our product at all. The prediction is now completed there. It has 0 alerts. Everything looks good. That's all on the training data. And of course, now you can start messing with the score. More false positives, more negatives, however you want to change that. And you can change this, and it's fairly simple. But I'm to my previous point, I'm probably just going to use the standard model. So the next thing I want to do, now that I've trained it on the first spreadsheet, the banking spreadsheet, and that was this spreadsheet. We trained it on this, and it contains the who would have bought the product, who did buy the product. This is old data, who did buy the product. And now what I want to do is, of course, I want to send in my new data, which is 4,000 records, but and I wanted to try and predict this last column, which is who is going to buy my data. You see, there's nothing in you at the moment. Who's going to buy my data? Who's going to buy my product? Okay, so the way I do that, I go into batch predictions then, and of course I copied a few lines, and we tried it in real time. But so I'm going to create a new batch prediction. I'm going to do it from this model that we have, but yep, that's the model that we created. And I'm going to upload my data from my bucket that I created. So I'm going to call it banking data source 2, and it's a test AI, and the file that I put there was this banking batch. Okay, so that's fairly simple, and I say yes. Does the first yep, the first line is the column names, so that's what it is. And I'm going to hit verify, and it's going to verify it, and it's going to come back and say yep, it's all good. And I'm going to hit continue, and now it's gonna where do I want it to put the result? So I'm going to say test AI, as I wanted to put it in on my bucket that I created earlier, and let's just call it batch prediction prediction AI, something like that. Okay, we're going to review that, and it wants to know that it has right and all of that, and now it's going to create this batch prediction. So it's now running and it's in progress already. It didn't queue up this time, it's already, and it's going to produce it and prediction AI. So again, to reiterate what's happening is we have taught it the first spreadsheet with the 42,000 records in. We told it who bought the product or not. Now we're running the second spreadsheet through, which does not have the final column, and this is the new data. But I've only got 4,000 records of these, and I'm saying, tell me which one of these will buy the product or not. You saw me earlier copy and paste a few into the real-time prediction. Of course, you can create a real-time service here that you can call with this data, and it will tell you yes or no. So Amazon supports that, but I'm going to actually run this whole batch through there now. Okay, so it's still in progress. So let's go back to batch predictions, and it's still in progress. Let's wait for it to finish. Okay, so it's completed now. Now I'm going to go back to my my bucket over here. Let's go back there. There's my test AI bucket, and there's my batch predictions, and there is the manifest, and there is the file, the result of that. So what I can do now is I can open it, or I can, or you know what, I can just download it quickly. I'm just gonna, on my computer, I am going to put it in my AI folder then as a GZ file. So let me extract that quickly. Okay, so there's the result. I'm going to open that, and there's the answers. Right, this column I can make just number. Yep, that's the percentage there. So here's the percentage, and according to my model, I said I think over 50% qualifies. We can see that record number 16, or the 16th record, did qualify. All of these did not. So if I were to go to my original spreadsheet that I fed in, the 16th record number 16, that's this guy, will buy my product. So and that's a 29-year-old admin. So to test it, that's record number 16. So to test it, let's quickly copy from here the 29-year-old admin. There he is. I'm going to copy that guy, and I am going to go back to our machine learning over here, our predictions. Not in the batch. We're going to look at our models. There's our model. I'm going to try a real-time prediction, and I'm going to paste this 29-year-old guy in there, and I'm going to run the prediction, and it says 51%. That guy would have bought the product. So you know, that's an example. Again, this is, you can in real time call this, meaning if you sent this service now this data, you could get this you know, this input data, you can get this result back, knowing whether the guy is going to buy it or not. Or like I've shown you, you can actually do it through the bucket, meaning you upload a file and you get a result back telling you whether that guy is going to buy the product or not. Or also I also showed you in here, you can also come tune your model over here. This is called model tuning, where you can mess around with the data, and you can see all the nice graphs, and you can get more detail about it. But you know, so you can change you know, how many records you want back from this tuning. And there's of course more advanced than this, but that gives you a basic idea of how data can be used by a machine, which we originally just taught data. We threw data at it and told it a fact, who bought and who didn't buy our product, and then after that it starts predicting for us, given new data, who will buy and who will not. So it's fairly simple, really, really simple. Thank you very much, and hope to see you next time.